In the quiet suburbs of Oakridge Heights, where manicured lawns whispered secrets and pristine houses stood like sentinels of unspoken tensions, a storm was brewing. Not the kind that rips through skies with lightning and thunder, but a far more insidious tempest. The storm of human judgment, of assumptions that cut deeper than any natural catastrophe. Imagine a neighborhood where walls have ears, where every glance carries the weight of unspoken accusations, where the color of one's skin can become a crime more damning than any actual transgression. This is a story that will make you lean in, hold your breath, and question everything you thought you knew about neighbors, about trust, about the thin line between perception and reality. Marcus Reyes wasn't just another new homeowner. He was a symphony of contradictions, a successful jeweler, a self-made entrepreneur, a man who had climbed mountains of adversity only to find himself standing at the precipice of another challenge. His latest conquest was a stunning property in Oakridge Heights, a neighborhood that had long whispered its reluctance to embrace change. Let me take you back to that precise moment. A hot summer afternoon when the air was thick with tension, when a single interaction would unravel a web of prejudice so intricate, so deeply woven, that it would challenge the very fabric of suburban civility. Eleanor Whitman stood by her window, her fingers gripping the curtains with a tension that betrayed years of carefully constructed assumptions. To her, Marcus was not a neighbor, not a successful businessman, not a human being. He was a threat, a disruption to the carefully maintained illusion of safety she had crafted. Hey, viewer, if you're loving this journey into the heart of human complexity, make sure to subscribe now. This story is about to take turns you won't see coming. The first encounter was innocuous. A simple moving day, boxes stacked like building blocks of a potential future. But in Eleanor's eyes, each box was a potential weapon, each movement a potential threat. Her gaze was a laser, cutting through Marcus's existence, reducing him to a stereotype, a threat to be contained. Little did she know that this day would become a crucible, a moment that would expose the raw, beating heart of prejudice, of misunderstanding, of human frailty. As Marcus's moving truck rolled into the driveway, as his friends gathered to celebrate his new home, the stage was set for a confrontation that would strip away layers of societal veneer, revealing the ugly truth that lurks just beneath the surface of polite society. This is not just a story. This is a mirror, reflecting back our deepest fears, our most hidden biases, our capacity for both destruction and redemption. Are you ready to witness how a single moment can unravel years of misconception? Are you prepared to see how prejudice becomes a prison, not just for those judged, but for those doing the judging? Pull up a chair. Pour yourself a drink. This story is about to begin. And trust me, you won't want to look away. The afternoon sun hung heavy over Oakridge Heights, a merciless witness to the brewing storm of human emotion. Marcus Reyes stood amidst a carefully curated celebration. Not just a housewarming, but a testament to years of unrelenting hard work, of dreams carved from persistence and resilience. His friends weren't just guests. They were family. Each face told a story of struggle, of triumph, of bonds forged in the crucible of shared experience. Laughter echoed through the pristine streets, a sound so foreign to Eleanor Whitman's carefully constructed world that it felt like an invasion. Perception is a curious thing. A weapon more lethal than any physical instrument. It can destroy lives with a single glance, a whispered assumption, a prejudged narrative. Eleanor watched from her window, her world shrinking with each moment of Marcus's joy. To her, this wasn't a celebration. This was a threat. The first confrontation was inevitable. Like two tectonic plates grinding against each other, Marcus and Eleanor were destined to collide. These people don't belong here, Eleanor muttered to herself, her fingers white-knuckled around her phone. The word people hung in the air, a loaded term, dripping with layers of unspoken bias, of generational fear, of systemic prejudice that ran deeper than the perfectly manicured lawns of Oakridge Heights. Marcus knew the dance well. He had navigated these waters his entire life, spaces where his success was seen not as an achievement, but as a potential threat. His 5 jewelry stores weren't just businesses. They were monuments. Monuments to every doubting glance, every closed door, every moment someone had underestimated him. The music played, not loud enough to disturb, but just vibrant enough to celebrate life. Each beat was a defiance, a statement that joy cannot be contained, that success has no color, no single narrative. Hey viewers, if you're feeling the tension, if you're seeing yourself in these moments of human complexity, hit that subscribe button. This story is about to reveal truths that will shake you to your core. But Eleanor wasn't interested in understanding. Her world was built on walls, invisible barriers constructed from fear, from generations of inherited prejudice. To her, Marcus wasn't a neighbor. He wasn't a successful entrepreneur. He was a disruption. The police call was her weapon, a tool wielded not for justice, but for maintaining a status quo that had protected her fragile sense of security for decades. Each word she spoke to the dispatcher was laden with coded language, thugs, gangster music, terms that spoke volumes about the real crime being committed. Marcus watched the police car approach. He had been here before, not physically but spiritually. Each interaction a potential minefield, each moment a test of his humanity against systemic bias. The officers arrived. Typical suburban response team, professional, yet carrying their own set of unconscious biases. Their very approach telegraphed volumes. The way they stood, the way they assessed the scene, the subtle shift in their body language when Marcus stepped forward. But Marcus was prepared. Not with anger, not with confrontation, but with dignity, with documentation, with a quiet confidence that came from knowing his worth extended far beyond any single moment of judgment. His deed of ownership, his business credentials, his watch, not just an accessory, but a symbol of his journey. Each item a piece of armor against the narrative being constructed about him. The neighborhood watched, some with curiosity, some with silent judgment, some with a growing sense of discomfort as their carefully maintained illusions began to crack. This wasn't just a confrontation between neighbors. This was a battle for humanity, a moment where the veneer of civility would be stripped away, revealing the raw, uncomfortable truths that society often chooses to ignore. Little did they know, the most unexpected twist was yet to come. A revelation that would challenge everything Eleanor thought she knew. A moment that would force her to confront the most dangerous enemy of all, her own prejudice. The stage was set. The players were in position. And the story was about to take a turn that no one, absolutely no one, could predict. Are you ready to witness the unraveling? The universe has a twisted sense of humor. Just when you think you understand the narrative, when you believe you've mapped out every possible conclusion, reality decides to rewrite the script. Matthew Joseph Reyes, a name that would become the fulcrum of this entire saga, was about to transform everything. That precious Rolex watch, once a symbol of success, was now a key that would unlock a truth so complex, so layered, that it would make everyone question everything they thought they knew. As the police officer stood there, the carefully constructed walls of accusation began to crumble. Matthew's small hands, trembling with a mixture of fear and childlike curiosity, held the watch, now broken, its intricate mechanisms exposed like the raw truth of human vulnerability. But this was no ordinary story of misunderstanding. This was a narrative waiting to detonate. Marcus Reyes watched his son, not with anger, but with a profound understanding that transcended the moment. His eyes told a story far more complex than any single interaction could capture. A story of generational struggle, of navigating a world where perception could be more dangerous than any physical threat. Eleanor Whitman, the accusatory neighbor who had been so certain of her righteous judgment, now stood paralyzed. Her world was collapsing, not with a dramatic crash, but with the quiet implosion of realized prejudice. Hey viewers, if you thought you knew where this story was heading, think again. Subscribe now, because what's coming will challenge everything you believe about judgment, family, and truth. The watch, the moment, the revelation. Marcus wasn't just a successful jeweler. He was a man with a history so intricate, so unexpected, that it would make the most seasoned storyteller pause in disbelief. 20 years ago, Marcus had been a different person. Not in success but in identity. Born Marcus Rodriguez in a small neighborhood in East Los Angeles, He had witnessed firsthand the devastating impact of systemic prejudice. His mother, a single parent working multiple jobs, had instilled in him a singular belief: success is the most powerful form of resistance. But here's where the story takes its most unexpected turn. Eleanor Whitman wasn't just a random neighbor. She was connected to Marcus in a way that would shatter every preconceived notion, every accusation, every moment of tension that had built up throughout this encounter. 30 years ago, in a moment of desperation and human frailty, Eleanor's late husband, a powerful real estate developer, had been involved in a complex legal case that had inadvertently destroyed Marcus's family's small business. A case of corporate manipulation that had forced Marcus's family into years of financial struggle. But Marcus hadn't sought revenge. He had sought success. Each jewelry store was not just a business. It was a monument, a testament to resilience, a middle finger to a system that had tried to break him and his family. The broken watch in Matthew's hands? It was more than an expensive timepiece. It was a symbol of transformation, a legacy passed down through generations, carrying the weight of struggle, of triumph, of unbreakable family bonds. As the police officer looked on, confused by the rapidly shifting dynamics, Marcus began to speak. His voice was calm, measured, a surgeon carefully dissecting years of misunderstanding. "Eleanor," he said, "we've been connected long before today, long before this neighborhood, long before this moment. The revelation was coming. The truth that would make everyone, the neighbors, the viewers, the very fabric of this suburban landscape, question everything." Matthew looked up, his eyes a perfect blend of his father's determination and his mother's compassion. He didn't understand the full complexity of the moment, but he understood something far more important. Love transcends prejudice. Eleanor's world was about to be completely reconstructed. Everything she thought she knew about Marcus, about her own history, about the neat little boxes of racial and social categorization she had carefully maintained, was about to be obliterated. The next moments would redefine not just Marcus and Eleanor's relationship, but the very fabric of Oakridge Heights. A community about to learn that truth is never black and white, but a complex tapestry of human experience. Are you ready for the final revelation? Buckle up. Reality is about to get complex. In the soft twilight of Oakridge Heights, a transformation was brewing. Not the kind that comes with thunderous declarations, but the quiet, profound metamorphosis that reshapes entire worlds. Marcus stood on his porch, the broken watch still in Matthew's hands, a metaphor more powerful than any words could express. Eleanor Whitman approached, her steps tentative, her previous certainty now dissolved into something far more fragile. Genuine human understanding. "I never knew," she whispered, her voice cracking with decades of accumulated misconceptions. "All these years, I thought I understood the world. I thought I knew who people were by a single glance, by the color of their skin, by the music they played, by the way they moved through this neighborhood." The police officers remained, witnesses to a moment far more significant than any initial call about a disturbance. They watched as the very fabric of suburban prejudice began to unravel, thread by delicate thread. Matthew looked up at his father, then at Eleanor, a child's eyes holding a wisdom that decades of life had failed to teach most adults. "Sometimes," he said, his voice pure and unfiltered, "people are just people." A profound silence descended. Marcus's journey wasn't just about success. It was about transformation, about proving that the human spirit can rise above the most suffocating limitations. Each of his jewelry stores was more than a business. They were beacons of hope, monuments to resilience, living proof that systemic barriers could be dismantled not through anger, but through relentless excellence. Eleanor's world was crumbling, not in destruction, but in reconstruction. The walls of prejudice she had carefully built over decades were now revealing their true nature. Fragile constructions built on fear, on inherited misconceptions, on a narrative that had never truly been examined. Viewers, if you've journeyed with us this far, you understand now that true understanding comes from listening, from seeing beyond the surface. Subscribe and be part of a movement that challenges our deepest assumptions. The neighborhood watched, some with curiosity, some with growing understanding. The very air seemed to pulse with a new possibility, the possibility of genuine human connection. "I owe you more than an apology," Eleanor said to Marcus. "I owe you understanding." And in that moment, Oakridge Heights was no longer just a neighborhood. It became a metaphor, a living, breathing testament to what happens when prejudice meets genuine human connection. Matthew's broken watch lay between them, a symbol of something profound. Time, when truly understood, doesn't just measure moments, transforms them. As darkness fell, something remarkable happened. Neighbors began to emerge from their homes, not with suspicion, but with a newfound curiosity. The invisible barriers that had divided them began to crumble, revealing the fundamental truth of human existence. We are far more alike than we are different. In the end, Marcus Reyes had achieved something far greater than business success. He had started a conversation, a dialogue that would ripple through Oakridge Heights, through communities far beyond its manicured streets. Prejudice dies not with confrontation, but with understanding. And understanding, it begins with a single, courageous moment of genuine human connection. Are you ready to be part of that change?